All right. Thank you very much, whoever chose that. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here today. Merci d'être ici avec nous. Je suis ici sur les territoires traditionnels des Mississauga, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, et Huron-Wendat. I'm here on the traditional territories of the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat. Um, my kids are here today in the background, and I was telling them that I'm glad I didn't put money on whether this election would be called or not. Because I told them there is no way that an election is going to be called at this time. And they said, Mom, I think there's an election that's going to be called. And it turns out that they were right. The reasons that I don't believe that an election should be called at this time, and that the Green Party doesn't believe that an election should have been called at this time, is told in the numbers. And here are a few of them. 270, 49, 570, and 4. 270, that's the number of fires that are raging right now in British Columbia. 6,000 properties have been evacuated, and almost 28,000 others are on high alert. 49. 49 is the number of degrees that BC experienced and the town of Lytton experienced just over a month ago that left that town burned to the ground. We are experiencing the worst drought on the prairies, perhaps in the history of Canada, and the worst drought Canada has ever experienced if it keeps going this way for much longer. 570. 570 is the number of Canadians who died directly linked to the heat dome that settled over British Columbia. 570 Canadians who would otherwise not have died. And 4, we are in a fourth wave. We are officially in the fourth wave of this pandemic. And for anyone who wants to tell me or the people behind me that we are out of it or it is different, they are wrong. And they should come down to this neighborhood where we have many frontline workers, where we had hotspots like St. Jamestown that had the highest rates of infection for much of the pandemic. They should tell my mother, who is expecting her latest grandchild in a couple of days, and won't be able to go and be there in the hospital with my sister because of the pandemic. They should tell her that the pandemic is over. And so these are the numbers that tell the story. And there was a time that when calling an election under any of these circumstances would have been unimaginable. There was a time when any of these events would have provoked an emergency recall of Parliament. Let us also take a moment to acknowledge as well that the Haitian community in Canada is very worried at this time. There are hundreds of Haitians who died tragically in the earthquake on Saturday. Let us also take this moment to remember and to recognize that Kabul has fallen today. Kabul, where 40,000 Canadian servicemen and women served, where 1,000 and more were 1,000 were wounded, and over 159 lost their lives. Kabul has fallen. Kabul has fallen, and instead of going back to Parliament on an emergency basis to ask, how will we protect the women and girls and people who remain behind? How will we ensure that all of the sacrifice that Canada and our servicemen and women have made was not in vain? We are headed to the polls. And then let me add one last number, 500. 500 million. 500 million is how much the last non-pandemic election costs. And let's ask ourselves what we could have done with that money and how many people we could have helped with that $500 million. And so why are we here then? After the Prime Minister said just in May that there would be no pandemic election. We are here because the Liberals have decided that they want all the power, that they want a majority, and they think that now is the best time to get it. Ils ont décidé de déclencher une élection dans telles circonstances C'était inimaginable, mais c'est vraiment un témoin de combien le gouvernement a décidé de reléguer la population du Canada au bas de sa liste de priorités. So instead of heading back to work, we have this election. And instead of focusing on public health has lost out to partisan ambition. Here's what could have been accomplished in 2 years that are left. Because we have areas of commonality, we have areas of collaboration, we have areas of cooperation between parties, and let's stop pretending that we don't. Let's do things for people in Canada. As you can see here, each one of these policies has been passed by the respective members of the respective parties. Guaranteed livable income, universal pharmacare, long-term care reform, respect and implementation of the calls for justice from the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls report, and a just transition for oil and gas workers. All of these extraordinary priorities, all of these that we agree on. 2 years is enough time to get this done if you have the will to do it. S'il y a la volonté de le faire, on peut accomplir tous ces objectifs. Nous avons les votes, nous avons un mandat de nos membres, nous avons un mandat des Canadiens et Canadiennes aussi. And so, again, common sense and collaboration has lost out to the quest for power. The thing that I believe that the backroom operators who cooked up this election have gotten wrong is that try as they might with their polling, try as they might with their calculations, they underestimate the desire of people for change. They underestimate the desire of people for change that this pandemic has provoked, and we are ready to strike out in a new direction. Leurs calculs, leurs sondages ne leur permettront jamais de calculer l'ambition et la détermination des peuples du Canada. And so while they've decided that this is the best time for the Liberals to secure their majority, ultimately it will be up to you, the people of Canada, to decide who you send back to Ottawa to represent you. I know that many people in Canada are getting to know me and will get to know me over the next while. So let me just say a few things about myself. I'm a mother. My children are here today. I'm the daughter of immigrants. My mother is here today. My father sadly died in long-term care during this pandemic. I am a wife of 25 years. I am a sister. I am a social entrepreneur. I'm a former diplomat. I'm a lawyer. I'm a policy analyst. I am someone who had the great fortune of being trained at Princeton University and the University of Ottawa Faculty of Law. And because of that, I am someone who loves big ideas. I also love big, doable ideas. And I am a Canadian who believes, like all of the Canadians behind me, that there is a possibility of greatness within our country, and that we can be heroes, that we can be part of a generation of Canadians that will earn their place in the history books. Et je suis un Canadien qui croit en nos possibilités, notre potentiel, la grandeur de notre nation et notre capacité d'être héros. I joined the Green Party, as did all of these Greens, because that is what we believe, and that is and we believe the Green Party offers the daring ideas to get us there. In normal times, the dearth of ideas that we have seen would be a problem, but in unprecedented times, it is fatal. Our country is suffering. It needs leadership. It needs leadership that offers a positive, progressive, and compelling vision about how we will repair the social and economic damage wrought by the pandemic, how we are going to secure our future prosperity, how we are going to tackle the climate crisis and build a more resilient society that leaves us better protected. That's where we come in. Cue the Green Party. In In my past 10 months as leader, I've emphasized that we need to seize the opportunity to address three great challenges: turbo boosting our move to a green economy, completing our social safety net, and forging a just society. The green economy represents the greatest economic opportunity of our lifetime. It is estimated to generate more than $1 trillion US per year by 2030. And Canada has the chance of a lifetime not only to definitively bend the curve on greenhouse gas emissions, but also to set ourselves up with the jobs of the future, to set ourselves up with the competitive economy of the future. It's where the jobs of the future are, it's where the smart money is going, and it's where Canada needs to become a global leader to secure our future. Alors, au lieu d'être le chef de file mondial en matière d'émissions de gaz à effet de serre, parce qu'il faut reconnaître qu'au moment, le Canada est un des pires émetteurs de gaz à effet de serre parmi les pays au monde. Nous sommes le pire émetteur parmi les pays riches, pas que les pays riches, mais tous les pays au monde. Et nous n'avons jamais réussi à attaquer même une cible pour réduire nos gaz à effet de serre. Nous pouvons le faire, mais nous devrons avoir un plan. And while our party may be best known for its environmental focus, it is our innovative, evidence-informed social policies that have shone through during this pandemic. When I ran here in Toronto Centre in 2019, I spoke about the urgent need for guaranteed livable income. I spoke about the need for urgent long-term care reform, and I spoke about the need for decriminalization and the creation of a national safe supply to prevent the opioid deaths, related deaths that are ravaging this community. The pandemic has proved these concepts have worth, and it is very encouraging to see the cross-party cooperation and consensus that is emerging around these issues. But the thing to remember is that we are always going to need those big ideas. This is where the Green Party comes in. This is the thing that sets us apart. We are always going to need to innovate. We are always going to need to look down the road. We are always going to need those people who are the fearless champions of policies that we were the first to propose, like equal marriage, reviving the call for national pharmacare, or being the first to propose a shared carbon border with the United States. And so we see that people in Canada have said clearly that they do not want to go back to the way things were, and they are ready to strike out on a new path. We only do this through cooperation and collaboration. And again, look at how much we could accomplish through cooperation and collaboration if we set our minds to it. Si nous saisissons la voie de coopération, alors nous saisirons la possibilité de grandeur, because we can only do this together. We are in this together. We will only accomplish great things together. And so, in honor of the 570 Canadians who lost their lives in British Columbia in the month of June, imagine if Canada was to become a global leader in limiting global warming, the most catastrophic effects of global warming, and securing our planet's future. Imagine. Le Canada peut devenir un leader mondial sur le plan de limiter le réchauffement global, le réchauffement de notre planète. In honor of the 15,000 people who died in long-term care, including my own father, avoidably during the pandemic, imagine if we made Canada the best place in the world to age. And imagine if we made Canada the very best place to live a life of dignity from the first day to the last day. It is possible. I need some, yeah. You have to believe it. We all have to believe that it's possible. And in honor of the Indigenous children whose unmarked graves are still being discovered across our country. Imagine if we became a global model for what it looks like to respect Indigenous sovereignty, Indigenous self-determination, and true nation-to-nation engagement. And so in this election, which again, someone get that for me, which again, we should not be here, this should not have been called, that is what we are asking people in Canada to imagine. And we are asking them to come and talk to us. For those who say that we are dreamers, of course we are, and we need to be. But we are practical dreamers. We are people that have a plan. We are people who have proven the value of our policies over many, many years now. We are leading scientists, and one of them is here, Phil DeLuna from Toronto St. Paul's, our candidate. We are entrepreneurs. We are entrepreneurs. We are physicians. We are students. We are creatives. We are academics. We are civil society leaders. And we are here at the end of the day for you. We are here at the end of the day because we share your values, and we are here to be your fearless, tireless champions in whatever community you come from. And remember that whenever a Green is elected, they stay elected. Because that's how much we care about the communities we represent. I am seeking to be that champion for this community, one that is so generous, so resilient, and has provided us with our frontline workers, has provided us with our healthcare workers, has done so much for itself during this pandemic, and just needs a little help from the real representation that it deserves. And so my leaders tour, the bulk of it, was going to be here in this community. And I'm going to invite all of Canada to join me as I tour the neighborhoods of this very special community and talk about the issues that matter to people across Canada, and talk about the difference that our Green policies could make in your lives. My election as leader of the Green Party of Canada was proof that this can still be a country of extraordinary firsts, that this can still be a country where we can make history. I approach this election in the same way that I approached the election for the leadership of my party, with hope, with humility, with humor, and yes, to my kids, I can be funny. Yeah, okay. With humor, and most of all, from start to finish, I hope with a great deal of honesty and honor. And I extend the same invitation to all Canadians, all of the people of Canada, as I did on the night that I was elected leader. I say to them, to every person that is ready to be daring, to every person that is ready to strike out in that new direction towards a better future, I say welcome, I say now is the time, and I say join us. Thank you so much. Green Party, Green Party, Green Party, Green Party. Because it's not just me, it's all of we, the Green Party. Okay, I'm ready to take any questions, and I think I need to put in this headpiece, yeah?
Yeah, Ms. Paul, we're going to start with questions at the location and then see if there's any reporters on Zoom who want to ask questions. Nous commencerons avec des questions sur place, puis nous passerons aux journalistes sur Zoom s'il y a des questions. So go ahead on the ground, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Paul. David Thurton, CBC News.
Hello, David. Sorry, just a second. Let me adjust.
Do your thing.
I will. Thank you. Samoan. It was a bit heavy there. Okay, let me get set up and we're good to go. Okay, perfect. Hi, David. Good to see you.
Yeah, very good to see you.
Looking sharp.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So you're saying that this election isn't necessary, that we shouldn't be going to into a pandemic election. But the Prime Minister was out there today saying that why shouldn't Canadians have a say? Why shouldn't Canadians have a say in the direction that we need to be taking our country at this critical juncture, is the way he kind of described it. So I guess I'll just put that to you. Why shouldn't Canadians have a say about the direction that Canada should be heading post-pandemic, or as we exit this pandemic?
Well, thank you very much for the question, and I would just say that Canadians do have a say, and it's really a testament to how far removed the government and the Liberal Party have become from the people that they were elected to represent, that they wouldn't imagine that people in their communities could have a say about what happens in Parliament through their elected representatives. We had an election 2 years ago. The government has a budget that they have successfully passed. The opposition parties have indicated their willingness to continue to work in this minority parliament and to get back to business. And as you know, there is a tremendous amount that still remains to be done. And there is a tremendous amount of commonality if we decide that we're going to shoot for greatness. And so the Prime Minister is going to be, I think, flailing around for a while, grasping at straws, trying to find any reason to justify this beyond what I believe is patently clear to the people of Canada, which is that the Liberal Party has determined, and their backroom operators have determined, that this is their best opportunity to get all the power through a majority. And if it means having an election during forest fire evacuations, heat domes, fourth waves, you know, the legacy, losing the legacy of our troops in Afghanistan, well, you know, I guess that's just the price that they feel we're going to have to pay. And so again, the people of Canada will have to decide whether Parliament would be better off having a variety of new voices who have a different approach, or if they're going to send back more of the same. En français, oui. Alors, oui, c'est vraiment c'est un témoignage à distance que le gouvernement libéral a créé entre ses députés et les membres, les résidents de les circonscriptions de leurs députés, que le Premier ministre propose que c'est nécessaire d'avoir une élection pendant une pandémie pour confirmer les vœux des Canadiens et Canadiennes. Je crois que c'est clair à tout le monde, que ce qui se passe, c'est que le gouvernement libéral, le Parti libéral a décidé que c'est le moment de déclencher une élection parce que c'est leur meilleure chance de sécuriser leur majorité. Alors, même si on doit avoir une élection pendant la 4e vague de la pandémie, même si on doit l'avoir pendant qu'il y a 270 feux de forêt en train de brûler en Colombie-Britannique, même si on doit le voir à l'écoute de notre legacy en Afghanistan, même si on doit l'avoir quand nous avons beaucoup en commun, beaucoup de travail que nous pourrions faire ensemble, en collaboration, dans les 2 années qui restent. Ils ont décidé de déclencher une élection. Mais au final, c'est aux Canadiens et Canadiennes de décider s'ils veulent retourner un parti avec les mêmes députés, avec la même approche politique, ou s'ils veulent aller dans une différente direction, vers une différente destination.
And I'll just ask a follow-up real quick. Because of what we've seen happening within the Greens, because of all of that, if you do not win Toronto Centre, is there a way forward for you to continue as the leader of the Green Party of Canada? And en français aussi.
En français aussi.
Yeah.
Alors, d'abord en français. Comme toutes les femmes, je suis capable à faire beaucoup de choses au même moment, mais je dois avouer qu'en ce moment, être chef du Parti vert du Canada, être le principal cheerleader pour tous nos candidats et candidates partout au pays, pour assurer que je suis là pour proposer d'une manière convaincante nos politiques aux Canadiens et Canadiennes et d'être ici à faire le cas pour aux résidents de Toronto Centre et gagner un siège ici. Ça occupe tout mon temps. Alors, nous avons, comme tous les partis, un processus qui se déroule après les élections. Je vais attendre après ces élections pour évaluer tout ça. Pour l'instant, mon job, c'est de gagner mon siège, de gagner des sièges pour des candidats comme Phil de Luna. Je ne sais pas s'il y a des autres là, mais pour gagner des sièges et pour offrir à les gens du Canada une autre option plus positive, plus progressiste, plus collaborative, parce que nous en avons besoin. Oh, in English. In English. In English, I said, look, as every woman knows, you know, we have to be multitaskers. And I'm definitely a multitasker, but my multitasking is full up right now. I am the lead cheerleader for all of our fantastic candidates who are running. I am the chief spokesperson for our tremendous green policies that would absolutely make a difference in people's lives if we have more Greens elected and sent to Ottawa. And I'm trying to win this seat in Toronto Centre to give the folks in this good community the representation that they finally deserve. And so I'm full up for my multitasks now. We, like all the parties, have a process after elections for evaluating leadership. I will go through that, but for the moment, we only have 36 days. In an election we should never have had. My focus is 100% on this moment in time and what we can accomplish together in this moment in time.
Thank you, David.
Radio-Canada, donc en français, s'il vous plaît. Je vais vous demander aussi de refaire les réponses en anglais après, si vous voulez. Le parti fait face à pas mal de problèmes financiers et une campagne électorale, ça coûte quand même de l'argent. Ça va être quoi vos principaux défis? Est-ce que vous vous sentez quand même confiante que la campagne va pouvoir avoir lieu financièrement? Comment ça va se passer?
Oui, bon, le Parti vert, nous sommes encore, et nous avons été pour beaucoup d'années une start-up. On peut faire des élections avec beaucoup de fonds et avec moins de fonds parce que nous sommes surtout animés par nos bénévoles, nous sommes animés par les gens qui sont attirés à nos politiques, à notre culture, à nos valeurs. Alors, j'ai confiance absolument que nous puissions le faire. Et en fait, s'il y a peut-être un cadeau inespéré d'avoir convoqué une élection pendant une pandémie, c'est parce que on doit, comme vous voyez, on doit avoir des petits rassemblements. Nous avons toujours essayé de faire le standard d'or en ce qui concerne la santé, la sécurité de nos bénévoles et de le public. Alors, nous allons faire une campagne qui reflète le moment dans notre histoire. Une campagne qui est sobre, une campagne qui ne dépense pas des fonds à fou et aussi qui respecte les conseils des experts de santé. And so I feel that we have everything that we need in order to have a strong election. The Green Party is still a startup party. And those of us who join it, we are people that are unafraid of building something big, something better together. We have always been a party that is animated by our volunteers, by the people that are attracted to our values, to our policies, to our principles. That is the engine that drives us. And so whether we have a huge amount of money or a small amount of money, we can still get a great deal done because we have the resource that matters the most, and that's the people. And so we are going to have an election that also reflects this moment. You know, we are a party that respects the Council of Public Health Officials. We know that we are in a fourth wave. We know that we can't have big gatherings. This is the max. We know that many of the tools that we should be able to use to connect with people are going to be out of reach because we are in a fourth wave. And so given that, we're going to be able to run an effective election absolutely with the resources that we have.
Et en question supplémentaire, juste rapidement, combien est-ce que vous avez de candidats pour le moment et c'est quoi vos objectifs pour avoir en 36 jours? C'est quand même assez court.
Bon, en fait, je n'ai pas le total pour aujourd'hui. Chaque jour, on confirme plus de candidats et candidates autour du pays. Nous avons complètement repensé notre procès de nomination. C'était quelque chose en cours même avant que moi j'étais élue comme chef du Parti vert. On voulait avoir un procès de nomination qui était le meilleur en termes de diversité et d'inclusion. On voulait assurer qu'on était complètement ouverte à tout le talent de notre pays. Nous avons lancé notre campagne Fête de saute exactement pour ça. Alors, c'était quelque chose qui a pris un peu de temps, mais ça valait la peine. Nous sommes en train maintenant de gagner beaucoup de momentum et chaque jour, il y a plus de candidats et candidates. L'objectif reste encore d'avoir une groupe complète de candidates pour ces élections. And so we're a party that made a very important commitment in 2019, well before I was elected. In 2019, our party said, particularly after the last election where we had the least diverse slate of candidates, that we were going to do the work. We were going to ensure that we were the gold standard in terms of policy, nomination policies and procedures that would ensure inclusivity and diversity and make sure that we were open to the very best talent because that's what our party needs and that's what our parliament needs. And so that process meant that we were a bit longer getting out the gate, but we're building tremendous momentum. Our goal remains the same, to have candidates running coast to coast to coast in all ridings in Canada in this election.
Hi, Annamie.
Hello.
Of course, we all know there's been, unfortunately, a lot of infighting within the Green Party. So how will you be able to help restore the confidence of Canadians during this 5-week election, which is not a very long time, of course, as you alluded to. So how will you be able to help restore confidence in Canadians that you will, bring this Green Party to leadership?
It's a great question, and I guess there are two answers to that. The first is that we are in a significant process of renewal, which is underway. It's not quite complete, but I think that it's going to yield really exciting outcomes for our members, first and foremost, but for people in Canada in general. We haven't gone through this kind of significant renewal in a while, and of course, it's there's no disguising, and I wouldn't want to. When you do these things, it takes time, and change is not always easy, but it's always worth it. And so we're going through that, but we're a party that I believe unifies at the times that matter the most. Our number one mandate in our Constitution is to get Greens elected, and in general, we usually only get the opportunity every 4 years. And so we're absolutely going to be focused on that. We're absolutely going to do all that we can to provide people with a Green option, and that is the key thing. As I said in my remarks, get to know the Green that is running in your community. You're going to find almost certainly an extraordinary person who has been committed to your community for many, many years, who is already a leader in whatever human endeavor they have set for themselves, and who is committed to being a tireless champion for you the way that our sitting MPs are. Greens always get reelected because they always put their communities first. They always put their responsibilities as members of Parliament for their constituents first. So you're going to get someone that is prioritizing you and the needs of your community, and also working towards a more collaborative Parliament where we can get important work done.
Just a follow-up question. What do you think you'll be able to do to try and help switch those hard Liberal ridings to a Green? What's your strategy, I guess?
Our strategy is one that is focused on us. I was attracted to this party, many of us were, because we really are committed when it comes to Parliament to trying to usher in a new culture. We've heard from many outgoing MPs from this session and from 2019, when we had a historic number of first-time MPs leaving Parliament, that it is a culture that has become toxic. It is a culture that has become unwelcoming. It is a culture that has concentrated too much power in the hands of too few. And so we see ourselves as being part of the antidote to that. And for people that are thinking about who to vote for in this election, as I said in my remarks, think about who is going to prioritize the needs of your community. Who is there to represent you? Is the person you're electing going back to Ottawa in order to follow the directions of someone else, or are they there in order to faithfully respect the wishes of the community? Because that is the bond. And I think that if people do that, And if they take a look at the extraordinary policies that Greens were the first to propose and that now are making a difference in people's lives, they're going to see a lot to like, and they're going to choose to vote for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions on the ground? So I will just go to the Zoom. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions sur Zoom? Are there any questions for the reporters on the Zoom call? S'il vous plaît. No questions here. Thank you, Ms. Paul. Pas de questions ici. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Sorry, what? Can I just introduce, actually, I just wanted to introduce, we have two special guests with us. Last thing, before the cameras cut off. I just wanted, because it's so important to give the real world examples of what is at stake, because I think that at times we forget. I think we forget, and we should never forget. This is a family in our neighborhood of Toronto Centre looks like. These are the people that are thinking about, how am I going to get my children back to school in the fall? You know, how am I going to get back on my feet, even as we entered this fourth wave of the pandemic? The decisions that are made in Ottawa have a real life impact on people and people's lives, and we all have to remain focused on this. Politics is not a game. Politics is not a game. It is something that determines the course of people's lives, and let's always keep that in mind. What are your names? Sashnida. Yes. And Sarabi. And is a frontline worker. Yes, and I want to also, again, let's put a human face on what we are talking about here. This is a neighborhood where we have many low-income frontline workers, many essential workers, and it was hit particularly hard by the pandemic. And remember that Toronto Centre had a by-election less than a year ago in this riding, less than a year ago. In the second wave, when this block was a hot spot, and there were 3 more in this riding, they were asked to go again and put their health at risk in order to participate in the elections. And now they're being asked to do it again. And I would say that anyone who wants to represent this community should be saying right now we should not be having an election, that this community deserves an opportunity to catch its breath. And what we should be focusing on is how can we support as much as possible people who need our support in this community. It is time to get back to that work. It is not finished. If we promise to be there for whatever it takes, as long as it takes, those were the words, and not have an election during the pandemic, then why are we? And let's keep the people in mind all across the country that are wondering, what are we doing here and when will we get back to work? Thank you. Thank you very much.
This concludes today's press conference with Green Party Leader Annamie Paul. Ceci met fin à la conférence de presse d'aujourd'hui avec la chef du Parti Vert, Annamie Paul. Merci beaucoup pour venir. Thank you for joining us.